In the 1940s, automotive pioneer Colin Chapman and his future wife Hazel Williams set out on an adventure that would change the automotive world forever. In his spare time, Colin built his first car, a trial special, based on the 1930 Austin 7 chassis, which he and Hazel competed with in club races. Using his initials, he created the famous monogram we know today. Inspired by Hazel, he decided to call the company Lotus. With a £25 loan from Hazel, the Lotus Engineering Company was established on the 1st of January 1952. And their journey into motor racing began. And just a few years later, Team Lotus is established and enter and win international motor racing competitions. In 1956, the Lotus 11 was created, and from that point, all future Lotus cars would carry names starting with an E. The 1960s saw Lotus take the racing world by storm.
As Al Francis looks on, the Lotus regains the lead. Moss goes on to win.
The Type 25 revolutionized Formula One with its monocoque chassis. In 1965, Lotus were the first team to, in 1 year, win the World Championship, Sports Car Championship, and the Indy 500. A new decade and new technology brought Lotus to the winner's podium again and again. A wedge-shaped nose was created to improve aerodynamics, while multi-element wings carved the airflow. And every surface was examined to use aerodynamics in a much more meaningful way to drive performance. Emerson Fittipaldi wins the World Championship in the Type 72, while the Lotus Type 79 pioneered the way in F1, making full use of ground effect aerodynamics. Meanwhile, on the road, Lotus deliver their next four-seater car, the Elite. And the worlds of fashion and movies flock around the brand and our two-seater sports cars. In 1982, Colin Chapman launched his last Lotus car, the four-seater Lotus XL. He left us later that same year. But his legacy lives on. On the track, Ayrton Senna wins the first of his 41 Grand Prix in the Lotus Type 97T. While on the road, the Lotus Elan and Lotus Esprit Turbo SC were launched. A car which filmmakers flocked to include in Hollywood blockbusters. In 1995, the Type 111 is unveiled at the Frankfurt Motor Show. It's named after Chairman Romano Artioli's granddaughter and remained in production until 2021. The last ever Lotus Elise is now owned by the person it was named after, Elisa. The turn of a new century and Lotus were instrumental in creating the first production all-electric car with a range of over 200 miles. And the car, built in Hethel, is now the only car in space. Lotus has continued to pioneer as aero kings with the development of our first all-electric hypercar, the Avaya. We believe in engineering, in adding lightness, in understanding and harnessing the power of aerodynamics. And tonight, we get ready to meet the newest Lotus car and the world's first hyper SUV, the Electra.